lot of information in there that that you would be able to, to glean from just viewing this film. Let's see. Okay, so the first step in figuring out what's going on with your with these sites is to figure out where they're at. Is this happening in your state? So here in Tennessee, they do not make it easy to find the oil and gas sites, to find this information. You basically have to pay $300 to have access to a database, which is then regularly updated. So the first step in figuring out this is to contact your oil and gas regulatory board that works within your state environmental regulatory agency. Now, I was able to find that the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, they have an online database. So you can go on and this is like a sort of a GIS sort of system here. You've got your different layers and stuff, and then all of these different points here are, as you zoom in, this is going to show you locations of different well sites and stuff. So I mean that there are some states do have online options to be able to figure out what's going on. Also, Kentucky has a database here. Generally, your databases are going to be broken down by, you can see here your search limits. You have limit by farm and or operator name, limit by completion result, limit by well number, limit by basin. I think that's the different types of, like the different places that they are, different depths that they drill down to. As far as the shale basins is what they're talking about. Limit by date, and then you just got some other different ways that you can limit the information there. So mapping out wells, existing wells that are near wherever you're trying to figure out to do the monitoring. Getting a map of that location with the well sites is your number one step. So the next thing is going to be figuring out what type of equipment that you need to take out into the field. So ideally it's going to be good for you to go out with a buddy, a person, and you're going to need a video camera and or a still camera, a GPS. It works really good as well, so that you can have your global positioning system so that you can have a time and date stamp on your pictures. If you have a camera that actually is able to embed that information into, so it's like a layer inside of the picture, then that's even better, because then those pictures will stand up in court. But if you don't have access to that information or that sort of equipment, just taking pictures of the actual well numbers would be sufficient, because each of these well sites should have a posted well number with an emergency number to call in case anything goes wrong, which usually ends up going to an operator for the company. And so definitely when you're out on these sites, taking pictures and video and posting that on YouTube as soon as you get back of any violations, and sending that video to the regulators like that day or the next day is really going to be probably one of your most effective tactics that we found, that I've found, to be able to get these companies, hold them accountable and get them busted for the violations that are occurring out there. So let's see. So also feel free to stop me with any questions and stuff as we go. All right, so we got Gasland. You need to see that. Also, another really good tool to have is your Gazetteer. This is just a specific map that's got. It just breaks it down, like on the back here. It's got different numbers for the pages, and and then you flip. You're trying to find the one page, and you flip to it, and then it's got just a lot of information. It's got it's got sort of like some topographical stuff on there a little bit, but definitely shows lots of really small roadways. Shows like in this area, it shows old strip mines, and things that are going to be able to be used as landmarks and stuff when you're out in the field. So very valuable resource to have as well. Let's see. So I think one of the things that really inspired me to take action on this oil and gas industry, other than the Gasland movie, was the bucket. And I just want you to notice that this is a 3-gallon bucket that I found out at the end of a oil well near Davis Creek, which is not too far away from here up on the Cumberland Plateau. And you can clearly see that this bucket has been there a long time and is actually leaking here out of the side. And and then clearly when it rains and stuff, leaking into Davis Creek. A complaint was filed. We filed a complaint about this this whole group of oil and gas wells, and based on the complaints of low maintenance and that kind of stuff, we were able to get the Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation to force the company to repaint all of their equipment. So it's all pretty blue and yellow, but they didn't fix the bucket. It's still out there to this day because there's no, it didn't fall into anything that they could, like write a violation for or something. So, you kind of get with this, you can kind of get like sort of hit and miss with it, as far as you're going to be able to cause a financial impact. You're going to be able to bring about visible changes, but the industry is going to roll on until we actually work towards abolition, and an actual ban on these sort of sites and this sort of extractive industry. Regulation is basically allowing the process to continue just in a controlled fashion. So here in Tennessee, we have currently 3 inspectors for roughly about 5,000 to 6,000 active producing wells. So that is like a very small number of people for a huge area. And based on research, because none of the oil and gas permits are available online here in Tennessee, we actually have to drive all the way to Nashville to have access to the oil and gas records. And so based on research that I did in early 2011, where we found out that that the state was basically lying to us in a presentation that Jonathan Burr had done, the head of the water pollution control here in Tennessee, said, well, we don't think that hydraulic fracturing is happening here because the industry has told us that it's not happening. Based on looking at their own permit files, we found that they were doing what was called dry fracking. So they were only using 170,000 gallons of water to frack that well instead of 1 or 2 million gallons of water. So and the dry frack is where they're using liquid nitrogen to get down in there, and so as that liquid nitrogen comes out from being under pressure, then it just kind of it fracks it out and stuff. They said that 80% of the fluid that they pump down into that well comes back up. So that was pretty much like, okay, well, what happens to the 20% that stays in the ground? So you have like 2 sort of things that are really sort of open points right now. Getting out into the field and looking at these sites and figuring out what's going on these individual sites. And the other part that I would say is what's happening with that product water, what's happening with that fracking water. So, being able to get out there, if you know that a well is being drilled and or being fracked, you know, getting out there with your full-on camo and like hanging out at the edge of the, you know, the meadow and like watching them, and, you know, getting the tail vehicles, you know, following the trucks. I mean, those large 18-wheel trucks, like, they have to go somewhere, you know, and so a lot of these places, the product water is actually either going into deep injection wells, which are old oil or gas wells that aren't producing anymore, where they're putting down, you know, millions and millions and millions of gallons a year into each of these wells. It's either going into that, or it's going to local sewage treatment plants, and or just going down to the creek and getting dumped in there, you know. So that is that product water, that produced water, that hydraulic fracking fluid is the unknown right now. And so we can go to these sites and we can find violations, which we have done. We've averaged roughly about $20,000 to $30,000 plus each day that we've gone out, racking up violations for the industry. And so, you know, this is I feel like one of the most important steps that citizens can take right now. What we're dealing with right now with the oil and gas industry is what was happening with the coal industry back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. It's the Wild West, and, you know, and so it's a completely unregulated industry right now, and that is thanks to this guy. All right, this is Dick Cheney. He used to be the vice president. He has also worked for Halliburton. You know, so he helped pass the Energy Policy Act of 2005, which just helped solidify, you know, what was happening with the oil and gas industry, the complete deregulation of the turning aside of the eye and letting the oil and gas industry go to town. Based on the research that I've done in the oil and gas well room over in Nashville, I learned that they've been doing fracking since the 50s.
Not high pressure.
It's not hydraulic. It wasn't hydraulic fracturing. They were dumping down, you know, 2,000 gallons of hydrochloric acid down into the vertically drilled wells. They weren't horizontally drilling at the time, you know. And this hydraulic fracturing was actually invented in Alabama, you know. So we kind of have, Tennessee used to be at one point several years ago was the third highest producing oil producing state in the country, you know, and I think we dropped off a little bit since then. So, you know, basically this industry has been going for a long time, unlike the coal industry, which has really kind of come under regulation, come under federal regulation. Which it's still like completely crazy, and like, you know, coal is, you know, still just breaking all the rules and stuff, but the oil and gas industry doesn't even have those rules to follow, and there's no oversight, there's no inspections. So this is where citizens can step in, take direct action. I feel like this is direct action. I think that some people might say that this is not direct action because, you know, you're appealing to a regulatory agency to do something. But I feel like this is a direct action tactic that costs companies money and forces the hands of the regulators to you know, start to bring them under control. And you know, and so we've gotten positive feedback from the regulatory agencies. They're like, wow, we want you guys to find these violations. We only have 2 inspectors for the whole state. So, you know, the more people that we can get out on the field, like if you figure that if you can cost the company $20,000 to $50,000 a day on these site visits, I mean, think about if we had citizens doing that all across the country, how much money we would be costing the oil and gas industry every day in this country if we had more people getting out there. So I really feel like this is a very untapped opportunity and resource, and and that we definitely need to get more action involved in this. Let's see. So I guess I've got some videos here that we made, and so you can maybe just see a little bit more. How many people in the room have actually been to a functional oil or gas site? Okay, 2. How many people want to go and see a functional oil or gas site? Okay, well, tomorrow you will have your opportunity if you want to, or you can go back to your home states and hopefully get out onto these sites. There's not fences around them most of the time. There's not gates across the roads. These sites are completely unguarded at this point. And because they can't afford to have security driving around to all these sites. There's too many of them. So this is an opportunity for citizens to step into a relatively low risk role and bust companies and cost them money. So this is a video of some of the field work that I did with United Mountain Defense, an organization that's part of the Mountain Justice Movement. I'm no longer working with them, but there are some folks here this weekend that are part of the organization. So just to give you a little bit of feeling of what you're going to be seeing if you can get out there, if you go tomorrow. That'll be leaving at 1 o'clock, 1:30 I think.
So you can see at least 12 oil and gas sites right here from this one vantage point.
Yeah, so
Plus
each of these
13th one that we're standing on.
So 2 to 4 acres each. This is you've got your wells here. This is a control box. This is like product water storage. Pretty sure those are off gassing. So this is a big. This is more wells here. This is a pretty big pad here. At least a 4-acre area, maybe a little bit more.
Where was it?
This is another well here. This is up in
Also,
Anderson
wondering
County.
if this area over here was like a blind pit or like a pit for any type of runoff water.
Yeah, they don't really reclaim these pits very much here that we found. So leaking gas wells is definitely something that we've been able to bust the companies on. So you've got your permit, your company number, your well name, your permit number in case of emergency. And this is really stupid, okay? Do not do this. Because if there had been static electricity, if my hand had a static electricity shot to that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. So this is not moving right now. Okay, so yeah, please do not don't touch any of the equipment out there. This was the first one of our first days out in the field, and in hindsight, and after talking to other, I guess actually after getting berated via the comments on YouTube. It was like, okay, that was pretty stupid. And I guess it also, technically, it could have been perceived that I had actually caused this vent to start leaking gas, even though that wasn't the case. So let's see. That was leaking really badly.
So this is our GPS coordinates today.
Sorry that is going so slow. So you see GPS, definitely an important thing to have out in the field because you got your time and date stamp, your location. Let's see if one of these other ones is open. Okay, so this is from the same day, an additional field day. So you can see the all these white spots here. This is all well pads.
Where's that location?
It's up in Anderson
Here's our
County.
GPS coordinates.
It's not too far away from here.
It's April 3rd, 2011. You'll notice the yellow knob in the upper corner of the screen.
Right there.
It's missing a control device, and this is actually down on the ground right here.
Yeah, right there. So I mean,
I
just
think this is a violation.
faulty equipment stuff. I mean, the thing is, you can just
Here's the
you
GPS
can turn
coordinates
in
for
violations, things that you think might be a
And
violation.
it looks like we have a non-functional solar panel here. Plug it down. Non-functional. Whatever that thing is supposed to be doing. Obviously, it's not working. So we're down here on this site, and all three of these solar panels
So this is your casings.
Alright, today is April 2nd, 2011. Here's our GPS coordinates from where we're at today. We have it down here on site, and I think we may have a violation here. I haven't seen anything like this. We've got our wellhead here with a casing, and then there's just water and some trash down in here. And this is just
Nice.
Yeah, so totally able to a casing that didn't appear to be completely cemented in.
going all the way down as far as I can push that.
What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to pump cement down in, and then it's supposed to come back up to the surface. But they're because of the small number of inspectors that they're not able to get out there to check these things. So.
Was that what you just did there in the video, something that you should not do also?
I think the main thing that I learned was if you have leaking gas, don't go close enough to it to cause a static electric spark. And you might be able to remedy that. Dryer sheets are supposed to be really good for taking away static electricity. Anything that they would use at a fireworks factory would be really good at taking away electricity. I think they touched brass knobs or something like, that I think the other thing really to be concerned about is if you have any type of asthma or respiratory conditions, going around these sites is going to aggravate them because when you get out there, I don't know if y'all ever have smelled the smell before, but it is, I occasionally smell it when I'm in the city now. Like it's sort of an oily, it's not like oil from your car, it's got a distinct, just a really distinct oil, strong oil smell. And you can totally see coming off of those big round containers. There's little pipes coming out of the top of them, and they're just off gassing, and that is just going a completely unregulated emission that's happening at all these sites, and it's just such a strong smell that I've only been out maybe about 5 days now on site visits. And I can't, every time I go out now, it's just goes straight to my head,
It's like
basically.
an instant headache.
Yeah, it's totally a headache, and by the end of the day, if I'm out there for more than a couple of hours, it zaps me for the whole next day, and got headache for all that night, and then the next day I'm just ugh. It's like really bad.
I just
so.
can't imagine the people who have to live with those on their property and like what.
Yeah. Or the inspectors. I mean, like, you know, the inspectors that go out every day, like looking at these sites, like, you know, just breathing that in all the time. They don't have respirators, you know.
Do you know
not,
the inspectors here in Tennessee? I mean, do they go out every day or?
You know, there's two different, between the two different inspectors, well, there may be three now. They have one person that handles new permits, and they have one person that goes out and, you know, and kind of maybe does like spot checks or, you know, goes out for the fracking wells, or, you know, there's sort of, they kind of divide them up like that. So, you know, they're traveling around. They might not be, you know, out at wells every single day, but they're out a lot for the small number of people that we have.
Yeah.
So, but you compare that to the coal industry now, where you have, we're under federal regulation here in Tennessee, and so there's like 20 plus inspectors for, you know, 200 or so permitted sites. So, I mean, you've got, the number is it's really crazy, it's big.
Do you think that is because they're trying to run the coal people into the ground and they're wanting the natural gas to go up?
Well, I mean, I think that's just I think it's just I think it's just the way that it's always been. Like, our oil and gas board is made up of representatives from the oil and gas industry, and, you know, and so, which is it's that way in every state. And you ask them for, you know, a copy of their conflict of interest clause that they've had to sign, and they either don't have it, it's outdated, or it doesn't include, like, you know, specifics that are going to, you know, say, okay, well, the oil and gas industry representative, like, you know, what decisions do they have to step back from and stuff. So, you know, I think it's just a symptom of the federal regulations and the state regulations, like, looking at, you know, and just allowing for the industry to be completely unregulated. So, I mean, you know, I guess in an ideal situation, we would have an abolition. I think probably the second best situation would be federal regulation, because even with the coal industry, the state regulation is not working. It's failing. And federal regulation at least has the potential to provide more oversight. Okay.
And I was thinking that they just, in the last year, turned over the primary responsibility or oversight from the federal government. They made some kind of little application and it got accepted, where the Tennessee is the primary, they call it something, primary, basically they're in charge. I thought that they just did that, and in October, you're talking about conflict of interest, they put the oil and gas board together with the water resource board. You know, so that's a conflict itself. You know, it's like so what are they, Fox, doing the hen house thing?
Yeah.
What is that?
Fox Garden
The Fox Garden hen house.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I mean, here in Tennessee, we have an oil and gas man in office, Bill Haslam, of Pilot, you know, gas. And, you know, so, I mean, you gotta keep it in the family, you know, you gotta take care of the family. So, you know, they're not going to provide more regulation. The oil and gas man is not going to do it. So, you know, and I think, I mean, our previous governor, Phil Bredesen, he didn't specifically take any more aggressive steps. I think probably one of the most aggressive steps that did happen was, you know, when the oil and gas went under the water pollution control more. There was more, you know, they had more sort of direct control over what was happening. But I mean, the oil and gas board is a completely corrupted board, basically, and
Free reign.
rubber stamping and stuff. So I mean, it really is up to citizens to get out there and bust the companies, and
How do
that's
you know what to look for, though? I mean, what is a violation versus?
Well, okay, so some of the violations, let's see if we can go back to this other video here. The main violations that we've been able to find, oh yeah, that's uploaded a little bit more. So the leaking gas wells, found several of those. Who's that?
Landon, it's April
This is horrible.
3rd,
Do not do
2011.
this.
Down here at a non-energy site. We've got a leaky gas well right here.
Yeah.
This is
Touch all over it, man.
pumping gas right out of it. I can see the color.
Here's another leaking one right here. In the seams, see that the first one was the valve was open. This one is where two pieces of pipe were screwed together and it wasn't screwed down all the way, so the seam was actually leaking.
Oh wow.
So erosion is one of the big ones that we've been able to bust the companies on. Because of the steep slopes and because of the so the steep slopes and the fact that they're not revegetating these slopes and the fact that the regulators aren't out there looking at these sites, you get a lot of rainfall, you get the combination of the rainfall and the steep slopes, and you're just going to get all kinds of gullies and that kind of stuff. So basically what we've been able to do is we've been able to get the regulatory agencies, in order to protect water quality, get the regulatory agencies to force them to bring out dozers to regrade these areas. The interesting, and dozer work is not cheap,
No.
especially up in these areas. The interesting thing is that on these steep slopes, they're not fixing it, you know. They'll come in and regrade it one time. You know, this has been a really wet summer here. We go back up onto some of these sites, we're going to find violations again, which means they're going to have to bring the dozers out, which means it's going to cost them more money. So there's the potential for, once you find violations on a site, other than the leaking gas wells, that you can continue to find violations, continue to cost the companies money. So you see these just like really big gullies that are formed and stuff.
How long does it take you, once you document a problem, how long does it take you for them to respond?
It probably depends on your agency, and it depends on the type of violation. In this last video that I'm going to show you, the response was that day, basically. I mean, it was, you know, it was like Monday, or I guess it was Sunday, you know, afternoon that the violation was found. Monday morning, because of the severity of the violation, Monday morning I got an email saying we've contacted the company and, you know, this is being resolved right now. So
Do they have a list of fines for different, when you say?
Oh, that's a big gully, man.
it is right behind that thing too.
Jeez, that's dangerous, man.
Like if that went out, like that would totally take all that
If
stuff out.
when.
Oh my god.
Here's another one right here. So this is actually, this is a compressor station.
Alright, so we're on the backside of this big tower here. And we got, it's like discharge point with a ditch.
Yeah, so they were just dumping unknown chemical onto the ground.
Down here.
And some sort of weird, you know, weird powdery discharge down there. The compressor stations smell really bad. They smell so much worse than the oil and gas sites.
Why is it here?
Now, what do you think that is?
Probably a combination of the diesel motors that are running all the time, and then the weird
Here's our GPS
chemicals maybe
coordinates.
that they're using, or because there was all kinds of vats of like chemicals and stuff out there.
And a dead bird. Oh.
Yeah, they said that they weren't necessarily able to do anything about the dead bird. They were like, we don't know if the oil and gas industry
Interesting
killed
thing
that
about this
bird.
site, there's a dead bird.
But it was like right beside it.
Wow.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else
It's a
interesting.
violation.
So that's the casing. I'm not specifically sure if they did anything about the
It's definitely an
casings,
unsafe situation. Okay, here's your GPS coordinates.
but the I think this is just more casings. Okay, I've got one last video that I have here. So the main ones we've been able to bust them on is leaking, gas wells, and the erosion problems. This one was pretty funny. I had to make this into a video.
A question.
Yes.
So, like, what are some best practices for writing down a violation? Like, what all should you include?
You should include the. You should include the name of the company. You should include the permit number. You should include the date of the violation. You should include the GPS coordinates. A description of the violation. If you have pictures to go along with it. If you have video to go along with it. Your contact information. You can. I think you could probably file it anonymously. It's if you didn't want your information to exist in their files, because if you file it, I mean, you can tell them keep it confidential, and I think that they would, like, most more than likely hide your information. But yeah, does that sound like a complete list of stuff? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
2213. It is approximately 12:30 p.m. and we have found a violation. This
And this was
oil, this gas well
Really
right
stupid.
here
Don't do
is,
this.
got a leak in the seam between these two pieces of pipe here, and we are getting ready to call in a violation with the emergency number and with the regulators.
So this is a year after we started the Tennessee Oil and Gas Working Group. So, we were totally on their radar. This was almost a year after the first set of violations.
Energy. Please note that your call may be monitored or recorded for quality purposes.
Yeah, man.
Please hold on the line one moment and we will be with you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you for calling Atlas Energy. How may I help you? I have on here a natural gas leak, permit number 12213 on Dowell, Dowell, Dowell Mountain in Anderson County.
It's Val, like a B as in Victor.
Okay. Alright, Dowell Mountain. Alright, we will go ahead and relay the message, and we appreciate you calling in on that, okay?
I have a question. So because this is an emergency situation, what type of response time are we looking at here to get this resolved?
We will go ahead and take someone that's on call immediately. We'll call someone as soon as, immediately.
Yeah, how far away are they located, being on call right now?
That I don't know. This is Atlas Energy. Matt just called about the natural gas leak.
Yes, this is Matt.
Hi, Matt. I'm going to patch you through to John, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, John. Matt is on the phone.
Okay, yeah, Matt, this is John Bernard.
Hello. Yes?
Hi. Yeah, you got a report of the gas leak?
Yes, there is a gas leak.
Can you tell me the well number? Are you out there now?
Yes, I filed the report, and it's contained in that. The permit number is 12213.
Yeah, I'm out walking here now, but I can't cross-reference that. You must have two sides. Okay, that's not rigged, that's intentional leaking of gas.
Really? That's coming out of a seam? There's a seam on the on the wellhead that it's leaking, where two pieces of pipe screw together.
Yeah. That's overload, so inconsequential that we're probably just ignore that.
Okay, just ignore the leaking gas.
You realize the trust that I told through the property about permit?
You're trespassing.
You realize that, right?
I didn't see any signs up.
You know that.
I didn't see any signs up. If you feel like leaking natural gas is not a safety issue, then that's okay. Then that's
Why don't you go out to like the swamp or somewhere and measure this thing coming out of the swamp out of the town cell.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely.
Security have you arrested.
Yeah.
So you know who you are.
So security can arrest people now.
Sweat.
The swamp or somewhere and measure this thing coming out of the swamp out of the town cell.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely.
Natural gas. Get the hell out of there before I call security and have you arrested.
Damn, man.
I would have sat there and waited.
Well, so so in the comments, this was where they're loading. Yeah, so basically on Monday, the next day, Jonathan Burr, the Tennessee Department of Conservation, took the following actions about the leaker. Said, I forwarded your message to our field inspectors immediately. Upon opening it on Monday morning, they were able to respond Monday almost immediately and found a pinhole leak in a seal. They contacted Atlas, who responded with a crew to fix the seal that afternoon. The state has forced Atlas to fix previous measures on Battle Mountain like erosion and leakers. Thanks, TDEC. So, and then also there's I guess seven additional comments, but yeah, this was at the point where we learned that or like, oh yeah, static electricity, it could kill you. So be really safe out there, because it's a dangerous place and it's the Wild West, and they could get security to arrest you.
What's static electricity?
What's
the static electricity that could kill you?
Well, if you're doing what I was doing in the videos, which is completely stupid and something that should never happen, I mean, your body is an electrical unit, and so if you think about rubbing your foot on the carpet, and touching somebody, you shock them. That could happen, and if you're right beside a leaking gas well, like, here, look, it's leaking right here, like, so it would be really bad.
Yeah.
So you have to live to find violations another day, so don't go near those leakers. And be careful with your electrical equipment and stuff too, because that could potentially make a spark as well. So, yes.
When we were in Frozen Head, across the street where the private property is and where they have told people that they can no longer hunt there, there's some arson been going on. Have you run into any of that out where you are? Any disgruntled hunters that can't hunt on their land anymore because of the private companies changing the traditional land use plans?
I haven't seen arson happening, but I think, from the previous videos, the smashing of the solar panels, the ripping down of the solar panels,
Right.
This could be attributed to, disgruntled locals and or teams that just have nothing else better to do.
Right.
So,
What are the solar panels supposed to be providing electricity for?
I guess internal equipment that, keeps track of things or something, or sends a little signal to let them know, if there's a problem or something. I'm not exactly sure. Was there another one back there?
Yeah, like, do you ever take measurements at the wells, like pressure, like you were putting your hand out the outlet there?
No. Since that touching that equipment, I've made sure not to touch any of the other equipment, and because if touching the equipment, I know sometimes they put the salty or the soapy water on to show those leaks in that, like where that seam was, where I was like, look, it's leaking right here. Like, put soapy water on there, you know, to show the bubbles. Like, the thing with that is that the company could say, well, you know, we don't know if that wasn't like acid or something that you put on there, or like, so touching their equipment is going to make put you in a lot more liable situation than, you know, just being there and filming it. You know, if you can, and your credibility as a citizen monitor is the only thing that you have. The more credible that you are, the better that you're going to be able to, the better standing you're going to be able to have with the regulators, and the more feared you will be by the industry. Yes?
How about bubble blowers? And if you have bubble blowers, you don't touch it, you put it up to the gas leak, it's leaking, blowing out, and it blows bubbles. So it's showing that it is leaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing, like, it goes back to your credibility, you know, if you're like, regulatory agency, this is a leaking gas well, and I think calling that emergency number, I think the next time that I find a leaker, I'm going to call that emergency number, record their thing, and then I'm going to call the police, or call, maybe in the other way around, maybe call the police first. Because that'll force the hand of the industry to have to respond that day if you call the police, because, you know, or the fire department, you know, that they're going to be more inclined to respond, I think, if the police or the fire department's called than just that 800 number. Because, I mean, y'all see exactly what happened. They're just like, whatever, that's just a little gas, we don't care about that. So what if it's dangerous?
We know
like,
who you are.
Exactly, like, we know who you are. We'll find you.
In the swamp. Could they really, I mean, could the security really come up there and arrest you for trespassing?
No, security cannot arrest
I
you.
didn't think so.
If you're not destroying any equipment, if you're not locked down to anything, you know, the only thing that security can do is they could try to detain you.
Yeah.
But that's against the law. If
Right.
you're not doing anything, you know, if you're just there, you know, they can ask you to leave, and at that point, you know, you could be like, well, let's just wait for the police to get here. The police get there and ask you to leave, then you either leave or you don't leave. So
What if it's a special situation like, I don't know, like say a coal ash spill happens and you're trying to like help citizens out and they want to be an asshole to you? Like, is there like special situations where security becomes police? I mean, could that happen in an oil and gas thing, or just if it's normal operating times, like never?
I think security could never become police.
Right.
Like, there's a separation.
Right. Okay.
They would have to.
So in that case, the police were given authority.
Yeah, well, the TVA.
That was actually,
TVA
they actually
birth-
had police.
TVA is a federal. They had a federal police force,
Oh,
and so.
Okay. So these are
Charles is
security
talking-
guards with the company, like with Consul or with Atlas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles is talking about the TVA coal ash disaster, which I was a first responder to, and went through lots of harassment and stuff. You can check out YouTube, search Matt Landon, and you can learn all about it. But that's a different subject. So yes.
Yeah, so if they have no trespassing signs up, you know, then could they arrest you for trespassing, or?
Security can arrest you.
Well, I mean, have something against you for trespassing.
Well, you never saw a sign. I mean, the thing is, like, I mean, the police would still have to come and, you know, deal with you, like, unless the company jumped through the hoops to like file a lawsuit against you to. I mean, the thing is, it's such a fuzzy gray area that, like, and a lot of these sites are so far away from everything that, you know, I mean, you're not going, you know, the chances of you having any type of legal ramifications to come back from busting these companies is not that high.
Whose land is it usually?
This land was a coal company that was leasing out. Yeah, a lot of these are just leases. So the thing is, like, the oil and gas company doesn't even own the land. You know, they're just leasing it. So.
And that's very intentional. I mean, because then if anything comes of it later, They're off the hook.
We get to pay for it.
Yeah. Yes.
Matt, on the arrest thing, a possible arrest thing, in Metro Nashville, I don't know how it is in other areas, but if you call 911, that is no longer, as I understand it, no longer Metro itself. It's just a private, somebody that's been hired to do 911. And I was in duress with an officer and said, I'm having a problem here, I'm really uncomfortable, I need some help, you know, mediation, whatever. Well, they told me to hang up and dial the non-emergency number because the Metro Police was there, that they could not help me. Of course, they brought 5 people to help me. I was going to get pizza. They brought 5 cars to help him arrest me. And then then what the officer did, and I've looked at like tons in my healing process, I looked at a lot of YouTube things, and their main thing is they go, they've got the radio on, and I thought, why is he saying this? And he says, you're resisting arrest, and he's saying that for all the other officers will come to his defense for the 63-year-old woman who's going to get a pizza. And so they have their tricks, but you just hope that you can, but my lesson and part of this is I've learned you just don't have control. When you go do something like this, but even if you get a pizza, you know, 5 minutes from your house, things can go wrong and you just have to heal from it or whatever, but the message is you don't have control, but you just try to conduct yourself as best you can, and that's all you can do is control the best you can what you're doing is all.
Yeah. Well, and see, I mean, the industry, you saw how the industry reacted. Calling the 800 number with an emergency, they were like, this is an emergency.
We're gonna arrest
What are you doing? You shouldn't be there. You can't see that. You know, so like, this freaks them out. Getting unregulated citizen monitors out on their lands and seeing what's happening, shining that spotlight out there, freaks them out. And it costs them money because they have to send out their repair crew, they have to send out the dozer, they have to, you know, fix the roads, blah, blah, whatever. They have to put up the fences. I mean, think about how much money it would cost them if they put up fences around all these sites to keep us from being able to see what's happening out there.
4-acre site, yeah.
Like, I mean, this is all potentials of like costing them money, and with like a very low to minimal amount of risk to yourself, other than breathing in unknown chemicals. So,
We do that every day.
exactly, yes.
So do you ever see like what TDEC actually writes down in their final report after they go out to the site?
Haven't followed up that closely, but I'm sure that those do exist because I have looked through different violations